Maybe we start with a quick introduction of what you're doing, and then we can get into some of the questions. So maybe introduce yourself and what you're up to.
Of course. My name is Zsuzsanna Leber. I'm a Chief Commercial Officer for Instant Pot, or we can say a soon former Chief Commercial Officer for Instant Pot. I'm transitioning into a new role, but I'm very excited to be here and talk to you with Melissa.
Amazing. Well, I always like to start with, I don't know if this is an easy question, but what do people who work closest with you say is your superpower? And I think based on our previous conversation, it has to be with something with balancing your personal life, which is crazy.
Yes, probably I would say it's multitasking, but I know it's a word has a negative connotation. So balancing probably is a nicer way to say that. So while I'm leading the sales and marketing team for a very well-known brand today, we also have three clades who are in athletics and they are at pretty high level competing. So trying to manage that, managing our family life, and meanwhile leading a brand where we did like a 180-degree turnaround the past couple of years, it's a pretty big task.
And to give your kids credit, like they are top 10, 15 athletes in the country doing
Yes, they
10%
are.
swimming.
Yes,
That's, I
they
mean,
are.
that is such a huge feat. So does the competitiveness in the family transition over? Like, do they get a lot of competition from you?
It's an interesting thing. Both my husband and myself used to be competitive athletes back in the time, so there might be something there. But I also feel like we always shared what we are doing. They were sitting in the car when we were on conference calls. We were trying to manage the life the best we could, so they can see like what we are up to day after day. And I feel like they are trying to kind of mimic probably that behavior.
Awesome. Well, they always say that sports always make great leaders because they have to learn so many team skills. So they have good role models and then also the sports to keep them active. Well, let's talk a little bit about Instant Pot. I mean, I've been watching Instant Pot for years. It's kind of like it was the darling and is the darling of Prime Day, one of the most iconic kind of Prime Day products. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of rise of Instant Pot and the successes and how you built that?
Yes, absolutely. So it was a very interesting challenge for us 2 years ago when we got a brand new leadership team on Instant Pot. And our goal was to put back Instant Pot on the map the same way as it used to be like a couple of years ago. It was a cult before. Like we have to be honest, that was one of those examples in the industry when they went really viral. They really built on the word of mouth, and that's how they became like a big brand. That task was really huge for us, but we managed to put together like a leadership team that was almost all women, which is very rare in the industry, but I was super
Mhm.
excited to be part of that. And basically we did reinvent the brand. We kind of went around, we tried to figure out who is our new target shopper, who is that new target consumer, and how can we reach them, how can we have something that's very relevant for those people, for those consumers, and try to put everything into this brand language, how we speak to them, how we find them, where to find them. And what also helped us that we kind of restructured the company. So we bought e-commerce in-house. Previously, that was managed by a agency, and we found great success with that one. Our ROAS just tripled in a couple of months, and our very passionate team really brought the best out of it. And kind of as we went ahead, we also learned that we have to be very close to our consumers through our online services, but also offline with our traditional retail. And that's where we were really trying to benefit from Prime Day. And we had a great success on that one when we got all the awareness and the tactics behind it. And we managed to get an item that was top 10 across all industries last year.
Mm. Wow. So going to the question, what you just mentioned about your leadership team was mostly female. Is that a reflection of the brand? Is the brand highly female brand, purchase brand? I know I have an Instant Pot. And then can you talk a little bit about how maybe that was there an advantage to having leadership reflecting the core consumer of the brand and how that worked?
Yes, I would say most of the cooking brands are majority female targeted. It's by just coming from the fact that most female cook and there is just a smaller portion of male who finds their time in their kitchen. And we definitely felt that probably it's an easier task that way. But I also felt that there was a very interesting dynamic having like almost all female leadership team. There were like so many things that was given that you didn't need to even articulate because of that situation and because of the dynamics. And I felt like that was one of the reasons why we were able to work together very efficiently And we were able to do things that probably in a different environment would have led for many discussions, for more arguments, and would have been harder to make certain decisions. So I felt like there was definitely a ton of advantage to having this environment, especially as we had the task that we had to deliver very quickly, very efficiently, and we had to use like very agile ways to get there.
Mm, amazing. Well, let's talk a little bit about leadership. So, if you were advising an aspiring leader today, what skills would you tell her or him to master first to accelerate their path forward in executive leadership?
I would say first and foremost, it's really important to have the basic business skills. I think it's no question asked, especially in today's world, analytics, no matter if you're in sales, you're in marketing, in trade or finance, you have to read the numbers and you have to be able to create a story from those numbers. So I feel like most people stuck at the level that they are presenting charts, they are presenting graphs, but they don't know the story behind that. And I feel like a good leader, what differentiates them from the rest is to be able to have the story and sell that story to the leadership team. If you have that skill, I feel like you can go really far.
Yeah, that's really good advice in thinking about that. Yeah. So, okay, AI is reshaping how companies are operating. How has it changed the way you work as a leader? And are there any tools or habits you've adopted that others should be thinking about?
AI kind of pushed us all into an era where continuous learning became even more important than before. I feel like in marketing and sales, there is always new approaches, new ways of working. Retail media is one of the biggest area that's developing extremely fast. But top it off with AI, you always have to stay in this courageous mindset where you are trying to do things. So the one thing that has changed for me a lot, that I'm pushing my team always hard to experiment and try new things. Try, you maybe fail, but fail fast and move on. Try something else. I feel like today there is not like a clear playbook how to do certain things, how to do a new campaign, how to accelerate asset creation, how to find your target consumer on different retail websites. But everyone needs to try and see what works best for the brand, what works best for the consumer, and just take it from there. So this is the one thing that I really changed, that I'm really pushing my team to experiment more, to be
Mm,
open-minded, and try to find solutions quicker. And I feel like until there is a clear playbook, this is the best approach that we can do.
mm. So do you push retailers to kind of get rid of minimums because that kind of prohibits against test and learn mentality?
Yes, so what we are trying to do, we are always trying to negotiate with them. So there's always a way, especially as we are an innovative company who is continuously bringing new items to the market. And to be able to successful, there is always an edge where you can try that, like, yes, we would like to launch with you, or we can offer some kind of exclusivity, or we can offer you something else in exchange, but can we try this? On the other hand, we also have best cases, case studies by now that we built based on previous experience, and we are going forward with that. Again, you have to be data driven in this market. If you can show data, you can show examples, people became all more open minded about trying different things.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's never been truer with all the models shifting and all the new things coming out. Do you have your eye on OpenAI, or what do you think is kind of is that a shiny object, or how do you think about kind of ads in these discovery areas?
I feel like we are still just trying and we are still just scratching the surface. There is not like a given AI model that it's working better than others. There are certain areas where we feel like there is some advantages for one, while the other model's strength is something else. We're definitely using a lot of different tools, especially when it comes to retail media. That's one of the biggest area where we use AI tools, but also just in marketing today, in asset creation, and even just thinking about new product development. The way you're
Hmm.
testing with consumers, the way you're testing ideas or you're brainstorming, all those tools are so helpful and accelerate the whole process so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for words of wisdom. I mean, I've learned so much just thinking about some things that you've said. So I know it'll resonate with so many people listening, and can't wait to see where you wind up next to continue to change things.
Thank you so much.